Okay, the only one that's not here, and I'll be looking for him, is John. He's supposed to be coming. I know he's working with some kids right now.
Is it okay if I mute myself?
Yeah, everybody can mute now, except for Mrs. Bird. And I'm gonna start.
So here you go, you guys.
We're recording to the cloud. We're good.
Better use that gently.
I feel kind of like that duck with the, hit any key to continue cartoon.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're good to go.
Gonna go without John for now.
For now, I'll text him and let him know we're starting.
All right, we'll call this virtual meeting of the Manistee Area School Board, our regular meeting for May, to order. Mr. Parmentier is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have the flag behind Mrs. Hawk.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, roll call. No, actually, let me give you a few comments here before we get to the roll call. There's going to be 2 public comment sessions. One will be public comment on agenda items. That's the first time it comes up on the agenda. The second is just public comment on any item at the end of the board meeting. If you are on Zoom with us, please raise your hand when we ask for public comment, and we will unmute you so you can speak. You can also write your public comment in the comment area and we will read it out loud. If you are watching via YouTube, you can write your public comment in the comment area as well, and we will read it out loud. As usual, please include your name and address if you would like to make a public comment. Due to the fact that we are live streaming and there's some buffering, there will be a 30-second delay at the end of each public comment section before we move on to the next agenda item. And then for the board, you guys need to know that we're going to do a roll call for each vote that we take, even the ones that don't normally require roll call. And Mrs. Winkle will read off the roll call to do the votes. Okay, now we can go on to the first roll call.
Okay, Ray Bird,
Here.
Jill Connon,
Here.
Stacy Cunningham,
Here.
Jason Jackson,
Here.
Alan Kalar,
Here.
Krista Moline,
Here.
Janine Perigal.
Here.
Okay,
All right. Now we need to have a motion to approve the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, Donna.
okay. Ray Bird,
Yes.
Jill Connon,
Yes.
Stacy Cunningham,
Yes.
Jason Jackson,
Yes.
Alan Kalar,
Yes.
Krista Moline,
Yes.
Janine Perigal.
Yes.
Okay, did everybody get a chance to read through the minutes from our last meeting way back in March?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, are there any corrections or comments on those minutes? Okay, then those stand as presented. Do we have any communications or correspondence?
Not that I know of.
Got it. Okay, so now we are at our first public comment opportunity. These are public comments on agenda items. I will make my 3 announcements of public comment, and then we'll have our 30-second dead air. Anybody want to make any comments on the agenda items? Public comment on agenda items. Thirty seconds is forever when we're quiet.
I could start humming the theme of Jeopardy.
Go for it, Howard.
That's good. Okay. All righty. The superintendent's report.
Okay, I am going to start off. We have 2 retirements. We have Ed Marinetti, who's been a social studies here for us for the past 26 years. He is retiring at the end of this school year. We have Cindy Hoholik, who is also retiring at the end of this school year, who has been, as far as I know, a 5th grade teacher at our elementary building. We also have Michelle Beckman for custodial, who has worked for our district for 30 years. Hers is effective June 1st. We have 2 resignations. We have Mr. Hilding Bodwine, who's the biology chemistry teacher here. He is entering, I believe, the Army at the end of this year. And we had a resignation of Mr. David Winkle for the girls varsity basketball coach. I wanted to just reiterate, I know we've talked about it quite a bit, but the food distribution and homework pickup and drop off locations, because they have changed a little bit over the last couple weeks. We have here at the middle high school, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 9 to 12 p.m. We have Gulliver's Crossroads, also Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We have Linda's Bread Box on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We have the Community Center in Germfast, Monday and Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Due to Memorial Day coming up this week, food distribution for Monday, May 25th is now going to be this Friday, May 22nd. This is also a change because we will be going out to Germfast on the 22nd, which is this Friday, due to Memorial Day. I also want to acknowledge that the summer daycare distribution food at Little Bear West Arena is Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. However, there is no pickup or drop off at that location. Students are now able to drop off work here at the high school when we are closed using the library drop-off box. Please remember to have your name, your teacher's name, and if you can, wrapped tightly so when you put them in the drop-off box, they do not scatter throughout. On April 29th, the U.S. Department of Education approved the Michigan Department of Education's Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund application and was awarded just under $390 million for relief funds. The award was part of the Federal Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, the CARES Act, and MDE will be awarding 90% of those funds to eligible local school districts based on your 1920 Title I Part A formula as required by the CARES Act. So I'm letting you know that to let you know that MAS was awarded $175,781 from the CARES Act. In order to receive these funds, we are currently submitting an application that includes a brief narrative of our most important educational needs information on how we will provide equitable access to students, teachers, parents, and families, and a budget that outlines our intended use of these allocated funds. The information in the last week and at the end of last week, the information that I'm receiving from the state pertaining to the deficit is that we should expect a $500 to $800 decrease in per pupil funding for next year. For our districts, that would be just under $413,000 and as much as $660,000. This is due to the decrease in the school aid fund by almost $1.2 billion. There has been discussion that the federal government may provide assistance, but right now we can't expect that. So that's what they're telling us to expect. Please understand that it could be less, it could be more. Right now it's a moving target and it's moving quick enough where it's hard to see it. During this past week, there's also been discussion that there may be a proration for this school year. What this means is that there still may be cut to per pupil funding during this school year. This has caused a lot of concerns for local districts because when this pandemic started, the executive orders told districts that we were not able to cut staff or there'd be a cut to our per pupil funding. This may happen anyway. What makes this worse is that by the time that we do find out if this occurs, there's going to be no way that the district, whether we could lay off or try to save funds, because the school year, as far as students being in the building, will be gone. So right now, the Dr. Rice, the Michigan's superintendent, is trying to do everything that they can to try to not allow this to happen. But it's also part of law that when there's a deficit, there has to be either a proration or other means to find that money. The last thing that I want to talk about just briefly is the continuation of learning plans. John and Jennifer have done a lot of work with these plans, and they're going to briefly, it's either in their report or they'll give a brief explanation of how those are going. That is it.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I know that there's a lot of ifs and we don't know anything about the budget. Are they talking about cuts just in the per pupil, or I also know there's different categories, like where we get categories for at risk and different grants and stuff. Are they talking cuts in just per pupil, or are they looking at cuts across the board in different areas?
So a proration would be cuts everywhere. What you're talking about is negative supplemental, which is the word I forgot earlier. And what that does is it looks at those areas to see if they can pull money back. So then they're not taking as much from other areas. So that's a moving target. Once the recommendation from, or not even the recommendation, once the legislators get what the Treasury is short, the shortfall, then it's up to the legislators to figure out, is it going to be a proration or is it going to be a negative supplemental? So right now the leaning is towards the negative supplemental because they don't want to take it away from per pupil funding. Because if they do that, let's say they took $300 or $500 away this year, so we're around $7,500 to $7,600 per pupil, that would be the number that they would start with next year. So if they then took $800 again, then it could be basically $1,200. So right now they're trying to alleviate that, but again, it's a moving target and no one knows what's going on.
Got a question, Howard.
Yes.
How many meals do we, on an average, pass out each day? Any idea?
Oh, We have, I want to say, okay, because we hand out for Monday, Tuesdays, and we do two, I want to say it was close to 300, but Donna, please save me.
We do 300 lunches and 300 breakfasts for every day. But we only do it every other day. So like this morning, we put together 1,400 meals. And then we'll do the same thing on Wednesday and on Friday.
Okay. Will that
Wow.
continue throughout the summer?
There's discussion about extending that. We were always told that it would end when school ended, but now there's discussion about possibly extending that.
Good.
Thank you, Donna.
Any other comments? Okay, Mr. Shiner.
Hello.
Hello.
Let me pull up my board report here real quick. So with the distance learning plan that we're currently operating under started, way back when we closed down, and at the time, we still didn't know that we were out for good. Once we realized we were out for good, the Department of Education gave each district or all schools in the state of Michigan certain benchmarks that they had to consider as they created how they were going to service their children from a distance. You had to consider how you were going to get the lessons to the kids. You had to consider how you were going to feed them. You had to consider accommodations. You had to consider students that did not have technology. There was a series of benchmarks that we all had to consider across the state of Michigan when we developed our local plans. We pushed ours in this district. We really pushed ours to get ours through and up and running. You had really until April 30th to start doing what we're doing, but we started very early, kind of knowing full well, as Superintendent Doug Leisenring told us, be aware that what you're doing has to be used or be able to be pulled out in short order in the future. And this is kind of a trial run for what they're expecting may happen again. So knowing that, and the longer that we would be up and running, the better we would be in the future, having gone through our paces. So we kind of pushed it through, and we have been up and running with this for quite some time now. I can speak, I'm sure, for the elementary and the middle high school, that our teachers have done a really good job getting up to speed. Very, very proud of them. As with everything, there are successes and there are barriers. And so if you were to go into the community room right now, you would see scrawled across the board all the things that we've done in chronological order. So when we look back on this, we can figure out what our strengths and weaknesses were. So some of our successes, some of the things that I think that have gone really well, particularly across the ISD, is it's fostered a lot of solid communication. Superintendent Leisenring has set up discipline leaders, and we meet once a week to talk about how things are going for science. I happen to lead the science group. How things are going for science across the ISD. Jennifer is involved at what level, Jennifer?
I'm the first grade leader.
And then there's leaders for each grade level and each discipline as you move into the middle high school. So what it's done is it's fostered a lot of inter-school communication. And I think with that, there's been a lot of growth. Science teachers talking to science teachers in Rapid River, giving them different ideas. I've also gotten to know the principals from the ISD a lot better than I ever have. as we've gone through this process, particularly when we talk about things like commencements. We've really gotten to know each other as we've gone through this process together. I think another thing that really stands out is how a lot of teachers have been pretty quick to absorb different forms of technology into their lessons. And a lot of that goes back to sharing with other districts. So I've seen a lot of really innovative things happening in the classroom or in the virtual classroom. People are pushing their boundaries. Things that I think that have been barriers, and I don't even know if this is a barrier. I'm just going to say it flat out. I don't think there's any comparison between butt and seat and brick and mortar to what we're doing right now. I think learning is much more meaningful when kids are in a classroom and they are in front of a teacher. There's a certain humanness that's lost in what we're doing now. And I think that is a barrier. And I guess whether or not that can be overcome, that only remains to be seen. And then communications on a bunch of different levels are always a barrier when you have so many moving parts. Particularly one of the things, because of our geography, Schoolcraft County being so big, and internet coverage being a little bit sketchy in the outer regions, we have a number of kids who are doing packet work. And I think we did a very good job getting up to speed and coordinating it. But that is certainly something that if we have to do this again in the future, an area that, at least in my building, that I'm going to look at to see if we can implement a little bit faster was the packet learning. And I would certainly be happy to answer any other questions about the distance learning. But I also thought I should give you guys a brief update on commencements. This is another entity that has really evolved with the passage of time. There has been a lot of conversations between a lot of people, between me and parents, between me and public safety, between me and other administrators, both in the building and across the ISD. And what we started with is not what we ended with, but I can tell you, we always use safety as the major, as the driving force behind where we're at now. And where we're at now is a ceremony that takes 100% place in the drive-in theater. Essentially, what the audience is going to see is an hour's worth of video clips and stills that are all streamed together into one big graduation ceremony, as the board members know and were part of when we were giving out diplomas. All of those pictures are going to be put into and used as part of a movie, if you will. We came to that because we have to recognize social distancing, and we still wanted to bring as many people as we wanted to on board. As we talked about it when we were on site out at the drive-in, we kind of came to the idea that if people are at their vehicles, in their vehicles, and we spread them out, we'll still be able to have everybody watch it. But it'll kind of be like a time and place to be at, which makes it a little bit more special. I know Escanaba is doing the same thing we are, but they don't have the luxury of having a drive-in theater. So they're using the same media group that I'm using to create the video presentation. But I believe they're just rolling it out, and however the families watch it is however the families watch it. So I think we're particularly lucky to have this opportunity to run it the way we're running it. I do plan on inviting board members. I don't know if it's going to be with a ticket or just an email or just knowing that you can be there, but certainly board members and all MAS staff are all welcome and encouraged to come, just like they have been in the past. Our guest speaker is Sam Miller, Jackie Miller's son. He sent his speech in today. That was one of the things that was loaded up to the movie itself today. Sam is a graduate of, I believe, 2006, and he is a trainer for Duke University. And we have also had our Val and Sal's, Mitch Green, Madison Schwartz, and Katie Troyer all record their speeches, and those are ready to go. Superintendent Parmentier has recorded his speech. It's ready to go. I'm actually going to step out as soon as I get done with this. I'm working on it as we speak. I've got some things moving forward on it at this very moment. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be exciting. God willing, and the river don't rise, we'll pull it off, and it'll be good. So I would say the successes is that we're going to have a lot of people there, and the barriers is there. There's going to be a lot of people there.
John, thank you so much for all your efforts.
Thank you. It's nice to be throwing a curveball every once in a while, Janine. It keeps you on your toes and doesn't let you relax at the plate too much.
You're doing
There you go.
doing a great job.
So I do have a couple things I have to attend to. So if you don't mind, unless you have any questions for me, I have to duck out.
I have a question, but it might be towards Mary. Are we going to be able to put the commencement on a YouTube or website at the same time as the live commencement, the video?
We're checking into that. It's going to have to deal with copyright, and I don't know if John checked in on that with our media people.
The biggest thing that we have to worry about with copyrights is when we use songs that we don't own. And the only song that we're going to be using is the, except for when the kids are leaving or the families are leaving, we'll be playing the class song. That won't be part of the thing, but we will be using, of course, Pomp and Circumstance when the kids are receiving their diplomas. We do have plans on making multiple discs, compact discs, and giving those to the kids, whether they're for sale or to give away to the community. And then likewise, we certainly plan on having that available to hopefully link to a website where they can watch it again. But that is a very common question. I thought that we left that, Mary, with that it couldn't happen. I thought that we didn't have the technology out there to make it happen, but
Well, I mean, we can, we'll be a little bit limited because there is no internet out there. We'll have to be on data, and after 25 gig or whatever, we'll slow down. But I was more concerned about the media people and what their copyright rules are, to make sure we got clearance from them that they would allow their video to be streamed and whatever music that we use. That way, if we can pay for rights for that. And I thought that on our agreement with them, we did pay money for music, and I wasn't sure if that was right use or if it was just their effort in getting the music.
it's right use as well.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we may be able to do it. We will see.
That's one of the things that's still kind of, you know, as I said to the board members that showed up, thank you, by the way, for showing up. That was very nice of you. I did appreciate that. This is completely shooting from the hip. This is not scripted. We are really 100% making this up as we go along.
Mhm.
Well, the plan, hearing a little bit about it from last week, you're doing a great job shooting from the hip. So I commend everyone who's putting a lot of effort
We'll see
into
how it
it.
actually turns out. Save your congratulations for that night, but thank you.
Well, I'm giving you kudos for the effort you're putting into it.
Take that. All right, I'm gonna
Okay.
take off.
Thank you, John.
See ya.
Thanks, John.
Jennifer.
Okay, I'm at home, so hopefully my internet doesn't go out. As far as our continuation of learning plan, we did have 3 5 as 1-on-1. Most of those teachers, well, all the teachers are in the classrooms. And just like we have students without internet, so just the packets. We have for teachers using Google Class.
It would appear that Jennifer has
Sorry.
froze.
I don't know if you guys see me. I'll just really quickly say that we're working as hard as we can. The teachers are working really hard to make sure all the kids have what they need. For kindergarten readiness, we are up to 51 students now signed up for kindergarten. And then we are actually having a celebration for the 5th graders on May 28th at 6 o'clock. We have banners and putting their names on the signs, and the teachers are going to line Oak Street and Cattaraugus, and the 5th grade parents and their kids can drive by and kind of have a little bit of a send off, I guess I would say. The other thing I just want to say really quickly is we did have a very generous donor from the community, a group of donors donate $2,000 so that we could make art kits up for all of our families, and they've been really well received. We had a pickup at Emerald last week, and I just bring them out to their cars, and families were really super grateful and happy to be able to have them.
What time is the parade for the 5th graders?
Their retirement, and they will be really missed. And we're looking at applicants now in the hiring process.
I'll send out that information when the parade is.
Okay. Thank you. Mrs. Hook.
You're welcome.
Well, I sent you a report. I gave you a little rundown on what I planned for the library, although the governor's announcement today may or may not have changed that a little bit. We're going to find out or get clarity on that tomorrow. But basically, we've been pretty busy in getting books back and ordering books, getting them on the shelves. We're working on our reopening procedure right now to probably do some kind of a combination of curbside book checkout, as well as hopefully we can bring them into the library. I ordered last week plexiglass and PPE, but it's taking about 2.5 weeks for it to get here. So I don't foresee us, if we have to wait until to bring people in to the library, might not be until after the end of next week. But we are working towards that, and hopefully all of our measures we put in place will be adequate so that we can get people back in the library. One thing that isn't in my report, I found out today that the Schoolcraft County Board of Commissioners had met and voted that on my millage language for the library, and we're going to be on the August ballot. So we'll need to be promoting that our renewal for 5 years for 0.3 mils is on the August ballot. And then as far as technology goes, I gave you some statistics on what we have out there right now for devices, what kids don't have devices, and what the internet outlook for our kids is right now. I'm still working. Well, our plan is for next year to do one-to-one, and I don't believe that we're going to provide internet in-house, but we are looking at putting hotspots around the county. That's going to be part of the plan. In the event that we do have to go back into shutdown and everybody goes home, everybody will go home with the device, and hopefully we'll have locations, either they'll have internet in their homes or locations where they can have access to internet to get their work done. I would like to eliminate as much of the paper packet process as possible because that is just not, well, the whole Zoom education is, I guess, a stopgap measure, but packet learning is just something that we would like to limit as much as possible. I just think that's probably the least effective way to be able to accomplish continuing education in these times that we're in right now. So I have a layout of a plan there on what we are looking at for next year. And I'm getting a budget to Howard on what we need in order to get ramped up to that. We're not too far off on devices, but we're going to need some extra equipment like charging carts and that to house all these devices, and in a plan for how we're going to use them during the school year for next year. And then we'll also have the plan for which areas of the county are adequate for putting in hotspots for those locations for kids that don't have access. Our buildings in town here will be equipped with large Wi-Fi, exterior Wi-Fi access points, so that our parking lots at the middle and high school and the parking lots at Emerald and the parking lots at Alt Ed will all be suitable for handling many connections to the internet. So if they were in the parking lot or outside, they would be able to hop on to the internet there. So we'll cover those bases. But as far as say like the Curtis area or Germfast area or out Hiawatha or north up 94 or out Cooks Way, we still have to look at what we can provide for those areas for internet. Other than that, if you've got any questions.
Thank you for being on top of it.
You're welcome. Trying to make it to the end of the year here.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, and thank you for doing all of this to get us all together.
Hey, no problem.
Oh.
I don't think we have any more supervisor reports, right? So, board reports and requests.
I can talk about the 2 committee meetings that we've had. On March 18th, just after our last board meeting, we had an athletic committee meeting that we discussed the open coaching positions. And just to name what they currently are, they are posted right now. We do have some applicants for some of them. We have a JV football head coach position. We have 2 applicants for currently. 7th grade girls basketball vacancy, no applicants. Middle school sideline cheer, 1 applicant. Varsity competitive cheer, 1 applicant. Varsity girls basketball, currently no applicants. So we talked about the open positions on that day. And then the finance committee met today to go over the budget. We shared with what you've already heard regarding the CARES Act and in regards to what the debt looks like for the state next year. And Donna will be going over other budget items during the action items.
Thank you. And that's where we are, to action items.
All right. First up is the financial report. We have the April financial report that shows revenue in the amount of $6,915,015 and expenditures of $6,711,374 for a positive cash flow of $203,641. That's typical. It's right on for this time of year. I really don't have anything to point out. It's been pretty much business as usual. We've had our full payroll. We've had, usually by now we're pretty much done buying teaching supplies anyhow. Utilities have been a little bit lower. We'll go over that when we do the budget amendment. But as far as day-to-day operation goes, we're right on track financially. Are there any questions?
Donna, how much has the staying home changed things, like with money flow regarding expenses and revenues and lunches and buses, and or is it?
Well, everything is different. Revenue, we don't have a lot of revenue anyhow, but we did have to refund several areas. We had to refund some pay to participate, some community school classes, pool, some lunches, meals that were paid up for seniors. But really, we don't have a lot of revenue other than state aid and, well, salaries on the expense side and state aid on the revenue side are two big things, and they haven't changed a bit. Utilities are down a little bit. We're not really buying any fuel oil. It's not a whole lot different. Spring sports, we saved some coaches' salaries and some busing, but we also didn't get paid to participate. So we'll go over that when we do the budget. But I was really surprised that it didn't impact us more than it did. But when you think about it, almost 90% of our budget is salaries. So, and that's continuing.
Thank you.
I move that we approve. I move that we approve the April financial report.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion or questions? Okay, Donna.
Okay, Conan,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Pilar,
Yes.
Moline,
Yes.
Carrigal,
Yes.
Burr.
Yes. Okay, next one is approve the merit pay.
Okay, I'll
Highly
cover-
effective and effective teachers.
Obviously, due to the pandemic, some evaluations are being done on teachers that are probationary or on IDPs. So what we talked about actually at the Finance Committee meeting is that normally we give $50 per effective and $100 for highly. Due to the circumstance that all of our teachers have stepped up and are doing what they can in this situation, the recommendation was that all teaching staff would receive $100 for their merit pay. In regards to the principals at the elementary and then John here at the middle high school, it's very similar. They have done very good job planning things, foreseeing, working out kinks. And for that, the recommendation is that they would receive $250 towards merit pay.
Is there a motion?
I move. Yes,
Second.
I move that we accept Howard's proposal.
Who
Any
seconded?
discussion?
Second.
Janine and Alan.
She beat me to it.
Got it. Stacy Cunningham,
Yes.
Jason Jackson,
Yes.
Alan Kilar,
Yes.
Krista Moline,
Yes.
Janine Paragal,
Yes.
Ray Burr.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm abstaining.
Okay.
Oh, I probably should have abstained too, Donna.
Got it.
Okay, thank you. Now we're on to amend the general fund budget.
Okay. I was hoping it would be even better, but it could be worse. First of all, on the revenue side, there's a pretty nice increase in the revenue, about $135,000. Most of that is due to, we're getting more for a retirement. The state gives us money to offset our retirement, a small portion of it, and they increased that about 28,000. And then, if you remember correctly, back when we amended this budget in November, we were really hopeful that we were going to get that isolated district money that they had taken away, and that did end up coming through. That was $42,765 for us. Our special ed costs were up last year because we added that van, and so we got about 13,000 more in special ed. And we took a little hit in athletics. We had some carryover money in the GSRP, the Great Start Readiness Program, and they've been trying to figure out where they're going to store the supplies for the little kids. And they came up with some plans to build a garage, and we submitted that to the state, and it was approved. So there's an increase in the revenue of $58,414 for that. So if you add all that up, it comes to roughly $135,000. And then on the expense side, we were able to decrease overall just a little bit because we did have to add in retirement bonuses for 2 teachers and a support staff. That was about $56,000. We cut some teaching supplies, not a whole lot, but just enough to notice about $16,000. Then we had to put that Great Start Readiness Program garage, of course, in on the expense side. And then there were things related to the school closure, like utilities, fuel oil. Those are the 2 big ones, I guess. There's you'll notice the technology supplies on there, but that is actually was left in there from last year by mistake. That was our phones, our new phones that we got. And we had to, there was a decrease in athletics, $24,500. That would be spring coaches, spring transportation. And I put some money in there for food. I still don't know exactly how that's all going to wash out, but I'm really hoping that will not be necessary by the time the end of the year comes. So I guess the bottom line is that we had a total increase in our fund equity of $155,396. And if we have that $200,000 in there, like we're typically used to, and I see no reason why it shouldn't be there, we should end the year with at least, close to 1.5 million, which is going to be awesome.
Life-saving.
There's a lot of school districts that have nothing right now. And it's going to make next year interesting for us, but we won't be worried about closing our doors. And there's a lot of school districts in that boat. So I guess I know that was pretty quick, but are there any questions?